actually. We have one more minute, and then we'll do it. Are we still solvent, I hope? So,
We did it last year as a
and it's in contracts or whatever we call it. And the contract's pretty much set.
We've got a draft, it's in your package. It has to go to council.
Even though it's just 15,000. There,
Because
If you bought this, it would be so.
so we're sending back to council the recommendation for the resolution to do both.
right.
Together, that has to be approved by council.
Right.
So David wanted to tack on
And then we
the
started.
agreement as another item for them to approve, just to.
Okay. But I mean, officially,
So we can
we're
have
under 25.
everything ready to go, council approval next Thursday.
Right.
And then, we can work with cultural center on all that.
Yeah, if we could get them, I mean, we'll run into Christmas, but if we could get them a check very early January, then, because they want to do the painting during the film festival.
Right.
So, and they don't have enough cash, to like go buy all the stuff, so.
I hated asking this
So if you
question.
guys are successful and want more, I can give you.
It's a regular, we have to hold back something. So,
Well, you can hold back if you really need to, $5,000.
Yeah, and then we just buy the
That's what the
envelopes and-
two artists will get at the very end. So if that would make him feel better. But just tell him we have to get some money to them so they can start. Okay, very good. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is the regular Thursday, December 12th, 2019 meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission. And I'd like to ask Mr. Verada to call the roll, please.
Yes, Commissioner Murray,
Present. Present.
Commissioner Gladstone,
Present.
Commissioner Yanni,
Present.
Commissioner Pritchard,
Present.
Vice Chair Merrigan,
President,
and Chair Sheffer.
Present.
We have our quorum.
Thank you. I'd like a motion, please, to accept the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda for this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Okay. This is the time that has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time each item is heard by the Commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the Commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time the item is heard. Testimony for public hearings will only be taken at the time of the hearing. Any person who wishes to speak at a public hearing may do so when the public hearing is called. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 5 minutes is assigned for each speaker. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak? Actually, we'd love it if you would introduce yourselves and spell your names so that it'll be in the minutes, because we so rarely have company that we're very glad to see people. So, just,
Hey, everyone.
yeah, just. Press it.
There we go. I will get them. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Chris Ramirez, C-H-R-I-S. Ramirez, R-A-M-I-R-E-Z. And I'm a Palm Springs resident as of March 2019. I recently moved from New York City. And I'm just here to sort of listen in and learn about everything that you guys are working on and have attended a few meetings in the past. And so it's cool to see things move forward and how everything works out. So thank you for having me.
Question?
Yeah?
Yes.
Were you involved with public art at all back in New York?
So my history's been sort of all over the place. I've been in the entertainment world and the music world, and then most recently tech. And so I helped start and launch and sell a company in New York. But as far as this sort of environment goes, in college I was involved at UC Irvine with the government there, and specifically the School of Social Sciences, and helping push things along. So it's pretty familiar, but it's been a few years since I've been out of college, so it's cool to sort of be in a city and see technology and arts and culture really sort of get implanted through you guys and the motions that you pass. So you guys are doing a great thing for the city. I think there's a lot to grow for this city, but definitely what I was speaking with Commissioner Thomas and Ann previously before this was just briefly about how Palm Springs has been so timeless and beautiful in the history that we all have know and come to love. But I think where the city's going as a whole, and just the sort of I think vibrancy of it is a really cool thing to be and sort of hear a part of what you guys are working on. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you
very
for your
much.
perspective.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, and
Hi, I'm Colleen McGrath. I attended a couple of meetings in the spring, and then I got an assignment in Santa Barbara, but I'm also from the East Coast. I ran a small nonprofit in Newport, Rhode Island, and we had a lot of, it was a park and incorporated a lot of art into the park.
great.
So,
Thank
I can
you for
make
coming. That's great. Thank you.
Question?
Oh,
Did you bring any refreshments? No. I'm just kidding. Wow.
okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. And I would note, as you all know, we have one vacancy on the commission. I checked with the city clerk, and there have been 4 people who've applied recently in this year. And there's another 8 that are left over from 2017, but haven't shown any interest since then. But what I thought we'd do is, after the first of the year, ask the city council if they would set up some interviews and help us find a new commissioner. So if you have people you know that are interested, encourage them to fill out an application before then so that their names would be there. Okay? We have minutes from November 14th, which we unfortunately didn't get before the meeting. And I'd like to suggest that we just hold them over because they're pretty lengthy.
I just had a question. I was just looking on page 3, under C, number 2, at the very bottom of the page. It's in a discussion of graffiti removal.
Mm-hmm.
And it notes that, it says, Chair Sheffer says there's a program for graffiti removal that the Public Arts Commission pays a company
Oh, you see,
$70,000
that's-
per year.
no,
And
it's
it
the
was
city council,
right,
yeah.
So
If
there's
people,
editorial eyes, right?
do you feel ready to approve them, or shall we?
I think because of that error, maybe if we can approve them at the next meeting, that would be great.
Okay.
So
well,
can we make that change, that, so that?
Yes.
Okay.
And take a look, and if there's other things, let us know also. Okay. I have just 1 or 2 things to report. One is that we got the first of the reports that we'll get from the art collective that are going around and surveying all the artwork and cleaning it to begin with, and then telling us what needs to be done. I just made 1 copy, but they seem to be, there's always some scheduling issues, and so they're going to keep giving us a revised schedule, but they're trying to get the initial cleaning done before the end, or what, if not the end of the year, shortly thereafter. And Commissioner Yanni is the contact with that. So if you see any, if you see anything's in dire need. And the other thing I have to report is that I went to the airport yesterday with the airport administrator, and Louis Scratches and Alicia Thomas from the museum, and Al Jones, who's the chair of the airport commission. And the first thing we wanted to see was, apparently no one has cleaned the art in the airport probably for 4 years. The last time we signed a contract with the museum for the loan of, there's 7 pieces that belong to them, was in 2016, and they're supposed to be paid $1,500 a year for someone to go and at least clean and wax the sculptures. None of that has happened. So the question is, we need to see if perhaps the Art Collective, they have 2 or 3 of the pieces in the airport on their list already. Maybe they can do the others, because scheduling a time to get into the airport is difficult, especially during the season. They don't just like people wandering around. They're very security conscious. And so we'll try to coordinate that. But it was good to go over and talk to the airport people, because no one's really, other than installing this, the crushing inertia piece, we haven't had much contact with them in a long time. And they're about to do multi-million-dollar construction on almost all of the spaces. And so we're either going to have to move some art or replace it, or so we started talking to them.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I'm not out of order, we have one person from our community who I guess was running a few minutes late and didn't give a chance to offer any community.
I think we could
What
do
is it
that.
called?
Yes.
Can we-
Do you want to come up
Yes.
just and introduce yourself and just tell us why you're here?
Public comments, that's what I
Public
couldn't
comments,
think of the
right.
word.
Forgive me, I was stuck on the pickleball courts. They wouldn't let me go. I'm like, I have to get to the meeting. They're like, one more game. I'm like, no.
They're very
So forgive
controversial,
my
those pickleball
tardiness.
courts. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shonda Thomas Favreau. I live in the Desert Highlands Gateway Estates community. And the couple of people from the Arts Commission came by to the Black History Committee meeting to inform us several things that are happening in the community. So I wanted to find out more about the signage that was going to be placed in the community. I believe there's 3 signs that are allotted for our area. And just to massage, help, I'm excited about what's going on in the area. And we definitely wanted to get some of the city benches in our neighborhood and more art installations. So I was here representing that. I'm also a hardcore pickleballer, so forgive me. And I would definitely want to beautify the community as much as possible, and I would love to help the Arts Commissions facilitate that and make it happen.
That's great. And we are hoping to find someone like you in each neighborhood or each park that, so we'll have a contact, which is great.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater and Dance, and I've been using it for the last 25 years in the industry as an actor, and I want to get more involved with the arts.
Wonderful.
And especially beautifying, getting our community up to par with the rest of the neighborhoods. That's what I would really like to
That's
help
great.
out to do.
Wonderful. And if you wouldn't mind either giving us a card or spelling your name, because the person who does the minutes does it
okay.
from, she has to.
It's phonetic. It's Shonda, SHAWNDA, THOMAS, F as in Frank, A, V as in Victor, EAU. I'm also a voiceover artist, thank you.
I guess. Thank you very much. We don't usually get such eloquent public comments. So this is great.
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you so much.
If I may, just one comment, Chair Sheffer. Shonda, were you in the room when Chair Sheffer announced that there are applications being taken for a vacancy on the Arts Commission?
No, but the Mayor Pro Tem's Jeff Goff, is that how he says it?
Gorst.
He's highly suggesting me getting involved. So, yeah.
Well, just go, if you do want to apply, just go online, fill out the application, and sometime in January we'll start talking to people.
okay.
So there's time.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for that information. I really appreciate that, Russell. And I also met you during one of the art installations that you had in the street, and you took pictures of me, and we exchanged emails. That's me. I'm all sweaty and wet. I don't look all glamorous like I did when you took the
You were,
pictures.
yes,
but
you were very glamorous on the day. I have many pictures of you on my phone. of
yes,
course, yes.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and all the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have only one action item, and then I thought that we really could spend the rest of the meeting getting caught up on all the projects and then planning what we want to do this coming year. But the action item is a contract with the Palm Springs Cultural Center to manage the 2 murals that we previously approved. And maybe Commissioner Pritchard, you could just bring everyone up to how we got to this point.
Yeah, both of these murals, Gabby Vasquez and Ann Faith Nichols, were ones that we selected from our 30 by 30 art show last May. And we're working on finding locations for them over the last few months. And very generously, the Palm Springs Cultural Center agreed to have them both placed on the north wall, and then further agreed that they would actually manage the project for us, making it a much easier process rather than having the artists have to deal with the city, waiting for checks, getting their individual contracts done. So we approved both budgets for Gabby Vasquez and for Ann Faith Nichols. The total amount, $15,000, includes some equipment fee and preparation that the Cultural Center will take care of looking after, and then they will also disperse all of the funds for the artists involved.
And they're very excited. They, if you remember, had an artist in residence before, and they are prepared to publicize when they'll be working. The farmers market is there every Saturday, and the vintage market is there the first Sunday of the month. So there'll be lots of people around watching what goes on that wall.
And further to the publicity part, they will actually do advertisements or promotion on the movie screens at the Cultural Center. So, of course, we would supply our Palm Springs Public Arts Commission logo as a sponsor of that.
And then this is hopefully a way that we can do some of these projects in the future, because we've had every kind of experience hiring artists directly. Sometimes the city treats them as so they were paving the road or something, and they want $1 million worth of insurance and automobile insurance and all these things that really don't fit this. So we're hoping if we do it with an organization like the Cultural Center, that they will make sure that the insurance is in place and everything, and the city can write them a check. So
I think this is like terrific. I think this is if this works out, it'll be a great model for partnerships. This is the kind of thing we've talked a lot about, trying to maximize a small amount of money that we use every year. And this is I think this is really great. It feels really clean and easy, and it doesn't burden the commissioners with overseeing project managing these big projects, and the city as well. So it's great.
Exactly. And what I'm hoping is that, and we're going to talk about it when we talk about some of the plans we have, but after a while, it would be nice to have projects originate with the parks or the neighborhood organizations and come to us for the funding, as opposed to our going searching for someone to sort of project manage it. And I think if we tell people the kinds of projects that we've tried, murals and benches and whatever, and then see what comes back. So I think we can do that. I do have to let you know that the murals themselves were on the consent agenda for the last city council meeting. The city council has to approve any murals placement. In this particular case, the amount that we're paying is less than the amount that they need to also approve. But for some reason, and I was not at the meeting, so I don't know exactly why, outgoing council member Roberts pulled this mural off of the consent agenda and said that he personally did not like having two murals on one wall, and so it was not approved. So it will be back on the agenda on the 19th, and hopefully we'll move forward. Unfortunately, no one was there it wasn't supposed to be discussed. It was supposed to be just approved, because we had approved it. So all of this will get done. So in the packet is the draft of the contract, and the only important part for all of us to look at is this last 2 pages. And it's basically that they will be managing these 2 artists in residence. They hope to have the work being done during the film festival, because they're a site for the film festival, and so there'll be lots and lots of people there. Does anyone have any comments or questions about this contract? And otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve it.
So am I the only one that didn't get a copy of this
Turn
to
your mic
read?
on. Turn your mic on.
Not just now. I mean, it's just been,
It just got wrapped up.
So when we talked about at the last meeting that we had already voted on the costs and everything, that we wouldn't have to vote again.
Right.
But now we haven't had a chance to read the contract.
but the costs are the same. The contract is, it's what the city, it's all this.
The contract has been prepared by David Reddy. It's signed by the city.
Right, I don't believe we had a
Standard.
contract in front of us the last time.
We didn't, no.
No.
So this is the document that will go, will be used to execute the agreement. And as Chair Sheffer said, the scope, it's boilerplate. And as Chair Sheffer said, the area where there may be some variables is the scope of work. And so that's the area where the terms are spelled out.
Yeah, and actually, historically, we've never really looked at the specific contractors
Yeah.
for, so we've never really approved them before,
Yeah.
because it's the city's responsibility to do that for us.
Yeah, this is like a first, having this.
Right.
In front of us.
We've had contracts with each artist, but they've been well past the point where we approved the project.
Right,
We
well, we
have-
never
So-
approved the contract.
The
Right.
Yeah, this
difference in
one-
this case is, this contract is going to go before the city council too.
Right.
So it's for information and action. Actually, it's on the agenda for action.
Yeah.
But, so what is going before the council. The council will know that you have approved it, primarily the terms. This is a standard contract that they've approved many, many times. So it really is the terms and the scope of work.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason for our approval is more to approve having the cultural center be the lead people.
Originally, we voted to fund the 2 murals, and we did actually have some other walls that we've tried, and then this turned out to be a way to have someone manage it, because as a commissioner trying to manage it, Commissioner Pritchard's had quite a time, and
No, I think that whole thing is
Yeah.
great. We just had that special meeting to approve it, and then
right, and then
was
it
pulled
got
off, so that was like a complete waste of time.
right.
And that we had said at that meeting that it was already, the money had already been approved.
Yes, yeah. No, it's like everything else, it's just taking longer
So
than.
we're now just simply approving the funds to be given to the cultural center to manage this
Right.
project.
Right.
As
Instead of-
opposed
And the
to
contract.
Right.
through this contract.
Right.
But we don't, yeah, I don't really see, I think, we should talk about having another, nonprofit manage this kind of a project for us. I'm very supportive of it, but I think that's the bigger issue for us to talk about.
No,
I trust that this
I was just
contract is
asking
good.
about not getting it ahead of time. to be able
I
to
think
read
it got finished this morning, so you're among the first to see it. But again, the contract terms, other than how much and when, and and which artists are all by the city attorney. And I keep trying to explain that artists who are standing in a pit do not need automobile insurance. But each time it comes back into the contract, so.
So, Madam Chair and Russell, there won't be any surprises. We won't have to come up with additional funding or anything like we've had to do in the past.
No, however, if anyone feels like going to the city council meeting next Thursday, just in case there are any questions, we could, because it's actually an agenda item, right, not a consent agenda.
Oh, no,
It's on the consent. Okay. Then it should be
It's all
just
new council, correct?
new council. Yes. Okay.
I have one
Yeah.
question then.
Yeah, we're going to vote in a second.
Oh, I just have one question. So at the special meeting, we determined that we'd have the mural up at least 1 year, and that we'd do any kind of work on it. The artist would do whatever maintenance for a year, after which this contract may be extended by mutual agreement. So if we did that, if we said, oh, okay, we want it for 2 years, would we add more funds into this, do we think, or?
Actually, we got into a discussion at the last meeting about maintenance. And I had thought we should allocate some money for maintenance for taking off graffiti and things like that. And it turns out that that's actually a big category in our budget.
Yeah.
So anything under, for example, $1,000, we could send they could send an invoice and Jay could sign it. Anything up to about $5,000, which would be a lot for maintenance, can go to David Reddy. So we don't have to allocate, we don't have to pass those
So then we can just
separately.
extend, just saying we'd like it to be up for 2 years, and then if it needs maintenance, we just take it out. of
Right,
the
they
budget.
would, because that's one of the few things that's actually in our official city budget is a line for maintenance.
And
so-
there's a line in here for a year of maintenance for
Yes.
$700.
Right,
Yeah.
so they can
We
pay,
kind of talked about it, oh.
right.
At the we're trying to think about timelines for things, like maybe they don't last forever, or we don't have to maintain them forever. So this was kind of the first test case of that. And so they thought that, they definitely would want it for a year, and maybe they would want to change out their wall after that.
That makes
So-
sense, but your question is, the question you had was, so we included it for 1 year, so your concern is if it does go past a year, how do
Like,
we
did we have
address
to-
that?
yeah,
for-
add
right,
more
okay.
funds, or we
And you're
just-
saying that it should be fine, right? We
Yeah.
can just say.
Right,
okay,
they
like,
could
Yeah, please.
invoice us
It
just.
needs a
Right, it needs,
refresh up. or
and
whatever.
I think some of the benches, for example.
We'll
So,
need some touch-ups or, okay.
Yeah,
For
we'll
these
just do it
small
as an
amounts.
as needed basis.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there are no surprises.
all right.
We hope, you never know.
No, it was a great meeting, that
Yeah, yeah.
meeting
It
we
was.
had, and they were really excited about
no, I think this is a
project.
great way to go if we can. And then if we can extend that to parks and neighborhoods in some way, it'd be great. Okay, may I have a motion, please, to approve this?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the contract with the Palm Springs Cultural Center for $15,000 for the project management of murals by Gabby Velasquez and Ann Faith Nichols on the north wall of the Palm Springs Cultural Center to include artist fees, materials, wall preparation, insurance, and maintenance.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Second. Commissioner Gladstone. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. And would you convey to the city council how excited we are about this and that we're a little concerned because of the delay? And so we hope that right after the meeting, this can go out, because it should have been vetted by everyone by then. Okay, now, the next thing on our agenda is reports on what's been going on, and the first one is from Madalena Garza, who's going to give us the year in review for some...
6 months. Hi, so I have a presentation. So we're going to see what has been going on in social media. I think it's great.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Madalena Garza, Madalina Garza.
Thank you, madam.
Madalena is our social media
right here?
consultant.
Yes.
Is that? Ooh, lovely. Okay.
So, well, a part of social media, well, that's really something that we're working on this month, along with Sarah and Tracy, is creating an artist registry on the website for PS Public Arts. But that's still in process. And okay, yes, that's the first page. So this is the report since just comparing from June, the numbers from June to the numbers we have right now in December. We have 571 people who like our Facebook page, and which is a 24% growth from June. Followers, we have 125 new followers. And in the graph below, you can see really what is engaging people is video. So we started that strategy with video, and I think the best idea would be to continue with that. Can we click next? I'll give you a print version of this, but it's
That would
basically
be-
some of...
or actually a digital one would be fun.
Oh,
if you
okay.
want to
Yes.
send it out to all of us.
Put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Again, like you can see the most successful ones, the 1K, 2K are videos. So yes, can you please click to next? Now on Instagram, I think that's where we have the best results. Oh my. Okay, we passed the 2,000 followers, 2,093 total followers. And we're only following 409. So it hasn't been just because we follow people that they follow us back. They are really interested in what we're doing. And it has been a 130% growth just from October, which is pretty good. People are excited about the new projects. We'll see in the next slides which are the ones that have the most engaged. It's mostly people from Palm Springs, Los Angeles, Palm Desert, Indian Cathedral City. There's from all over the world, but those are our main audiences right now.
How do you get that? Is that like part of their profile or something? Like how does that?
With their location. So we get the analytics on our account.
Okay.
And we can see. We have people from all over the world, but most of our audience is from those cities. Mostly women and men, but women and men between 25 and 54. There's younger, there's older, but that's the range. And just from December 5th to December 11th, we'd had 3,045 account reach, which is that we reached that amount of accounts. Can we? Now, these are, I don't know if you can see at the top of each column, it says reach, impressions, and engagement. So obviously the most successful one has been the one with the dog and the wings. It had a lot of, thank you. It had a lot of comments. A lot of shares. So a lot of engagement, and the impressions is only how many people see it in their feed. They don't necessarily have to interact with the post, but we reach with that post 10K, like 10,000. which is not the normal amount that we reach. That was a very successful post. But if you see the other one, like the average would be between 1,800 and maybe 3,000. And then comparing to where we started, I think it's
very good.
it's very good. And if you see everything, people are interested in when we announce new art or new projects. We had a lot of reach with the airport installation and a lot of reactions and comments. Funny things like the baby escaped from the pit. People love it. And well, of course, Tysonite, new projects. And, Scott's sign, they also had a big reach during the last 6 months, including the Imagine Art Here sign. So people are attracted to his work. And can we... Okay, thank you. And with likes, we used to have an average of maybe 60, 45, 60, 80 was a very successful post. And now we've moved to the 200s number and likes, which shows that people really are engaging. And also in comments, where we would see maybe 4 comments, now we're seeing 10, 12, 15.
That's great.
And it's nice. Yeah,
The dog
people are
one
getting
is
engaged.
amazing.
Plus, they love the videos. The videos when we did a video with Sarah Scheidemann, we did another promoting the new sign by Scott. And the benches, we had another video for the airport installation.
That was actually fascinating how they got it up there. So it was, since
Yes.
no one could go and see it. It was
Yes.
great.
And so people love just watching those behind the scenes as well, and the perspectives from the artists. And the process, which is something we wanted to do also with the company that is in charge of the maintenance of the pieces.
Yeah, that would be great.
So that we not only show the work, let's say new installations or the process of installing the art, but also the maintenance that goes on behind the scenes. And I think that's it.
Does anyone have
do
any
you have-
questions
I have a
or
question.
suggestions?
So
whatever?
this is really great. Now we're seeing numbers in the thousands, which is like really exciting. I think we have the most popular Palm Springs government Instagram account.
I don't know.
We're the only one. I don't know, but
It's one of the most fun,
it's always
definitely.
fun.
wear the
I was
same
wondering
photo?
if you have like some goals for 2020, like in terms of like just quantifying, like you want to double, like can we try to, like I think it'd be useful for us to, because now we've been working with you for a couple of years, and I'd love to see some like projections, especially because, well, we have a couple bigger projects coming up, and I feel like you have a good sense of what people respond to now, and yeah, so I was just, if you don't have to answer this now, but I guess I would appreciate like us like seeing that kind of quantification, just to set a few goals for the future.
Well, and
Yes,
maybe
of
in
course.
January, we'll do that along with everyone else sort of laying out their projects. I'd also like to see more coordination with our website. And I did actually get in touch with Amy Blaisdell, who's the communications person for the city, and ask how we could get the previous Instagram and Facebook accounts taken down, because it's confusing. One is PS Public Art and the other is PS Public Arts, and nothing's happened to the other ones. And also what we could do to the city website. It's hard to keep that current, and as long as it has, how to apply and whatever on it. but it could reference our own website so that, because it's very hard to find, people do, certainly artists are interested in finding out more about how they could apply or whatever. So I think we have to steer them to the website as much as we can.
Yes, talking about the accounts, the other accounts for PS Public Arts, it creates a lot of confusion for people. So some people end up tagging the other account that has no activity. That will really help us.
So I'll keep after them to just cancel the other ones.
What did she think about doing that?
She didn't actually realize that there were
We had
those.
our own.
Yeah.
Plus, we can use
It's-
our
doesn't seem
logo
to be a problem.
on
Nobody's-
our page and not have people confused.
It would be great to, we talked about adding more content to the website. So thinking about the Gerald Clark project, that could be something built up on our website. So we could really have a history of all these, like start adding a history of what we've been doing, but make it really current that, in the Instagram, whatever URLs for things, it could reference, that, like a bigger info.
You could have all the signs, for example.
Yeah, it would
on
be
the Website.
really cool.
Well,
And just reference it back
Yeah.
and forth.
I mean, there's probably a way to just feed the Instagram pictures to the city's webpage. I'm just not sure that that's something that they do. I mean, that's pretty common practice, isn't it? Like, you can just feed.
You can add a
But we
plugin
can
and
certainly do it
have it
to our
show.
own website, which is
Yeah.
separate. And
I
we
mean,
just have to
I-
get the city,
yeah.
I think that
But actually more
someone,
content, like written content,
Yes.
like
So
actual
I-
content on the
I think it's a great
shows.
idea. I would like to propose maybe if we do that, maybe we can make something that's more like a PDF. I like the city's website because you can find the information you need. There's not a lot of it, but the information that's there is accurate and it's up to date. You can find the meeting, you can find, but
The minutes and
I
things,
wonder
right.
if we can. I know we do sort of annual reports at the end of the year on like a project, but if we can make like a PDF, or something that's like clickable, that kind of summarizes the project, that can be like posted in other places, like really easily, instead of having to like format a web page, that,
Right.
that kind of becomes this static thing. And anyway, I think that's great, but I also am always thinking about how, when people go to that website, why are they going there?
There's two though, like are you just
Oh,
talking
you're
about
talking
the
about the
city
cities?
one or the one that we also created?
Oh, we also have a website.
yeah.
That's
And
right.
Which
so-
is more dynamic, we can add more current
But what we have to do
content
is
it.
tie them together in some
Yeah.
way,
Yeah, we
so
have
that
to
if you
tie
go
them
to
together.
see what the Arts Commission is doing, but you want to see pictures of the more recent projects, because it appears to be,
Hasn't
I
been
think it's maybe
updated in
contracted
years.
out, right? If somebody, the person who actually, who,
Sorry, who manages what
Chain.
website? The city manages the city's website. Who manages ours?
I do.
Okay, great.
but we have to make sure that if you go to the city website, and
Can't they just put a link to ours?
I think they could, if we can just figure out who they are.
Yes, and that's on that other on the website that I manage, the new one. That's where we are creating the artist registry.
That's the question. Can you say more about that in 30 seconds or less? And my last question is there a plan to highlight the new city council, if that would be anything interesting?
Okay. Can you repeat the second one?
To highlight the new city council members on our website.
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, for that we can do a photo shoot and.
Let me interrupt. I think we have a city council person that's connected to the public arts.
I think it's,
It was the mayor, but
It
he
was-
but I
never-
it
he
was
never
the
was-
mayor.
now I think it's Jeff Kors as the new, someone said he had volunteered to be
They'll
the,
go through new assignments
On
as one of the
next
first
Thursday.
meetings, right?
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
I did request that it be one of the carryover members so that they would know sort of what we're doing. Because the two, the mayor and Councilman Roberts,
Right.
both are off.
Right.
So instead of getting someone who's just been elected to the city council, if we could have one or more of the existing ones. That would be nice.
That might get some likes.
Yes.
Can
I
you
don't
say
know.
more about the artist
The artist
registry?
registry. I don't know too much about that. I'm in charge of the tech part, so I know that we need to add the plugin. I know what we need in the system, but I'm not managing the project.
What I'm getting at is, before you do that, would you come to the commission and, get permission, or how?
Sure. I don't know if it was, I guess, was it approved already?
I think it's part of sort of what
We've
Commissioner
kind of gone
Merrigan
back
and Sarah
forth on
Scheidman
this.
are working on as,
Okay.
we're all trying to figure out how to get our, the kinds of projects that we can do out to the neighborhood groups and the parks. And one way is to filter them through one of these call for entry kinds of sites, or make our own. Because we get requests from artists who want to do something, and we get requests from like the Arenas neighborhood or street committee, whatever they're called, and the Desert Highlands, that they'd like to do something, and we're going to try to match them up in some way. So that's the purpose of it.
Just because I feel like we're opening a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I think we haven't voted on moving forward with an artist registry. But as I recall from our last meeting, we talked about it, but we had talked about maybe having to vote
Right.
on it. So
I don't think it's ready to
So
be
I don't
voted
think
on,
we're
right?
ready to move forward with this, right? That's my recollection. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to know that you're anticipating it.
Yes.
But at this point, I don't think anyone should
Yeah,
really
we
be working on
we
it.
had them do the initial research on it.
Okay,
To
great.
present to
Perfect.
everybody.
Great.
And then I thought we were going to talk about it more today, but if we don't really have the pros and cons of it today, or we can just present maybe in January to everybody.
That might be good.
And
And see
Yes,
how.
I think we should have
Great,
it as
sorry.
a discussion or agenda item
Yeah, I
for,
think so.
because right now we're talking about social media and now we're going into
Yeah.
a
Right.
kind of a.
Excellent job, excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's
Well, we can call it tech next time.
so we'll get that together for January.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you. This is great. And thank you for going out and covering all this. I mean, the on the street things, I think
It's
people
really
really
awesome.
like.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And it makes them, instantly, people know about it. It's great. Which there's no other way to do that with the same impact. So it's great. Thank you. So we can, Commissioner Merrigan, if it's all right with you, just roll the 1 PS into the plans for next year. Because you don't have a.
Yeah, I thought the things that we had talked about working on, and whatever we'd have to maybe vote on or have an agendized item, like in January, I thought we could just kind of discuss them. I guess that's what we were
Well,
gonna have, like a little.
Well, we need one more report on the Gerald Clark.
Oh, yeah,
For
that would
this
be great.
current thing, right? Where we are on that.
And this relates to the lady in the back.
So I'm happy to update. Are we now jumping to D or am I?
I think what we're doing is we're going to roll together commissioner comments and plans for next year. And I think we could just go around and everyone can
Say what
say
they want to do.
what they've been working on and where they see it going. And I brought this paper and I thought, maybe we, and, we're in a comment section, so it's like having a study session, because none of this needs to be voted on. We're just, but let's start with Commissioner Merrigan, Gladstone, because we do need to just see how we're doing on Gerald Clark.
Sure. So Commissioner Yanni has been, since October, been reaching out to the various neighborhood and community groups, and we've made contact with most of the groups. Commissioner Commissioner Yanni did confirm that he reached out to a few of the community groups and didn't hear back. So I'm going to be following up with that. One of those groups is Desert Highlands Unity Center, but there were 2 individuals whose emails, maybe we have the incorrect information for those individuals, but we did reach out to 2 individuals and didn't hear back. But we are going to be following up and making sure that we go to all of the community groups and neighborhood groups and talk to them about the project. In terms of the project itself, on Tuesday, I went with Ernesto Salinas, the Assistant Director of Maintenance and Facilities for the city, who works with Stacey Schaefer, the Director of that department, and Commissioner Merrigan, to revisit the sites and confirm that the proposed sites would be feasible for Ernesto and his team to do. And he confirmed we made some slight adjustments to the sites. I had a conversation with Gerald Clark today to confirm the design of the signs and to confirm those locations. He wants to revisit some of the sites again to sort of get those tweaks down before he places the order for the signs. I'm expecting to have those final images and final report next week, next Friday. So I will have that report and I can send it to all the stakeholders, the community groups, the city people who will be involved in the installation, this commission, and Tracy Merrigan Commissioner Merrigan will be going to the Parks Department as well for their meeting on the 23rd to, share this confirmed detailed information. I've also been in conversation with email conversation with, I forget her name in the Parks Department.
Cynthia Alvarado.
With Cynthia Alvarado. So she will also be I will be distributing this information next week. And then we'll likely, because of the holidays, have to continue our conversations with the neighborhood groups at those January meetings. Ernesto also confirmed that the artist would be able to ship the materials, the finished signs, directly to the city, and that the installation would be super easy to do, no problem. And
Who's doing
so
the posts?
flexible, easy, and that he feels
The
strong.
city?
The city would be, that getting it installed in January is definitely possible, because I've confirmed with the artist that we'll have the designs by pretty soon. The ordering it's about 2 weeks turnaround, and then hopefully we can get it on the city's calendar for sometime in January to coincide with the artist's retrospective exhibition opening at the Palm Springs
Right.
Art Museum.
And then we'll
In addition,
Right.
I talked to the artist today, and he is very keen to engage with neighborhoods, community groups, students, whoever. And so I think we had talked about this in the past, a little bit about maybe we could do he could do some bird songs or activate these sites where these signs are. So he's very keen to do that, but probably after his exhibition opens, because there's a lot going on with that. So sometime in the spring. As well, I will be working with him to generate some small informational plaques that'll be installed underneath the signage to sort of explain the connections to Kauai language and culture, to indicate the maker of the project, Gerald's name, inscribe some authorship to it, as well as to make mention that the Public Arts Commission, it's a Public Arts Commission project in the year. So I will also be seeking the commissioner's input on that language as well, and working with the artist to make sure that we do it right. So you can expect more information in the next week.
how long is the exhibit up at the museum?
I think it's the end of April, like the beginning of May.
We might see if one of the Thursday nights before then is a program that references the signs as well as the exhibit there. Maybe the bird calls or something in one place. But I think the idea of it's 5 parks. Is that what you
There's
ended up
5
with?
parks, so it would be the Palm Springs Visitors Center, the James O. Jesse Desert Highlands Unity Center, Baristo Park, the Palm Springs Pavilion / Leisure Center. Sunrise. It's not really Sunrise Park.
Leisure
it's not really
Center.
Leisure Center.
We've got correct.
Oh, it's not part of Sunrise Park? No.
No.
It's not
It's
really
the
part of the
leisure
park, it's the Leisure Center.
It's like where the pool is.
Right, right.
There are a lot of
It's
kids
just next
there,
to
a lot of kids there. And
And pickleball carts.
And then the wellness park. And that was actually, another great partnership opportunity there is that Ernesto also looks at a lot of the plants. And so Tracy, in her capacity as a representative of the Desert Horticultural Society, also expressed that the Horticultural Society is really interested in making sure that a lot of those traditional medicinal plants that have seen better days, they seem that they've been picked and kind of decimated, that we can maybe replenish them as well, depending on the. Gerald was really excited to hear about a lot of those plants and to know that those were the ones that were there, and he'll
That would be
probably be
great.
selecting some of the ones that are already planted there. So
Yeah, that would be
I think
great.
there's a really cool opportunity to engage with that part at that park as well. So
Maybe we could do a couple different things, like a bird song kind of thing,
Yeah.
or another,
be a neat
like
thing,
like maybe a desert, like multiple, like
So-
maybe two, if, you don't want to see how.
well, what's nice about a lot of these parks is that several of them are built in amphitheaters. Like the James O. Jesse Center has a kind of built-in amphitheater that's facing the sort of beautiful open field. The visitor center also has one kind of built in, and even the wellness park has a labyrinth and has sort of these spaces where you can kind of gather and natural gathering spaces. I should also mention that at this point, Gerald is envisioning the visitor center as this interesting place to locate yourself. So that was to have this cardinal directional signage. And he's now conceived of the project in a way that he wants to sort of put it in the round, so you would stand in the middle and orient yourself. And I think that will allow us to, I know some of you had expressed concern about wanting to put a sign explaining kind of the whole project somewhere, and we think actually that would be a terrific place to, direct people who are interested in the project to start there and to learn about it, and then we could also list the other locations where the signs are installed. So I think that's a good solution. That's also what came out of this conversation.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's awesome. So maybe we could do a couple things with him, like.
I think he'd be open to it,
Yeah.
and
With like a different theme on each of them. Yeah, that would be great.
and he's happy to do whatever he can. Just he requests that it would be after his exhibition opens in late January.
Do you think the Horticultural Society would be interested in doing a joint thing, like with like a healing plant thing at the wellness park?
Yeah, that's what I was
That'd be a
just kind of
neat sort of
thinking of,
joint
like if we
thing.
did one that was, there, that's kind of wellness, like whole people oriented. Yes, we would be. We are going to use that space to start our garden tour for the year on March 15th. So that
That might be a good time.
could be an opportunity, or maybe an Earth Day opportunity.
Ah, yeah. Earth
But that's a
Day.
project that I've been trying to get done for 2 years now. And that gentleman was the perfect gentleman to talk to on Tuesday. So he was really excited about it. And some of my members want to volunteer to replace the plants. One of our Desert Hort, friends of Desert Hort, is the one who designed that original garden. And she really wants that to be, to go back to what it was, because the plants are either dead or they're missing or they're the wrong plant. And that could be on our garden, that actually could be a garden on our garden tour, which would be really cool. And that's kind of where we started with our garden tours 15 years ago, so it will be our 15th anniversary and a nice.
So he's open to talking to communities where signs are being placed at some point in time.
Absolutely.
Where is
So
he?
Great.
Gerald's a professor, he's a teacher.
Right.
And not all artists are actually great teachers. He is a great teacher, and he really is, he really feels the land, and he really gets the place. And even though he lives on the other side of the hill, I mean, he's very familiar with this landscape, and he's very open to it. So if there are dates, if there are timeframes that we're, let's start gathering up that information. I'd be happy to compile that and sort of check in with him to start saving
Right.
some times. And even if it's, let's all start brainstorming. And
Yeah, that would be
he's
really
just,
awesome.
he's very
Also-
busy this spring, and so I want us to be
Right.
able to, but he'll make it work. He really.
And I think that should be
it's
one
the
of
most important
the-
thing to him, actually.
threads that runs through. And April has been designated by the California State Arts Commission as Arts and Culture Month. And I think, if we're going to have a street fair or something, it might be fun to see what we can fit into that April time frame, and, maybe some of these other, and it's Earth Day in there too.
I just want to warn, just my usual, I love all these ideas for the things, but I also, I just want to make sure we don't try and do too many, because we often run into the, we have very
Right.
high hopes, or, so I think we should try and really, pick some very soon, and just commit to those and make sure that those are really
And I think
successful.
this is a good time. Let's put everything on the table
Mm-hmm.
that people have been, sort of wanting to do. And there are a few artists from the 3030 exhibit that we still haven't found a way to produce. Though I've been talking to Jeff Pick, and it looks like he can do his fault line on the Virgin Hotel site with the permission of Michael Braun, in a very temporary way that can stay for, a few months, and it's meant to be sort of a temporary installation. And what about John?
So he
Let's see.
he just sent an email actually today. So I asked Sarah to follow up with him to ask him. We asked him to give us a new quote with that corner section of the pit, to use that as an area for his clothesline, because when he gave that original quote, it was just
Right.
not specific,
And it-
site specific.
And it needs to be where people can't run into it anyway.
Yeah, so I asked her to get him to give us a quote by next week, so then we could marshal it around to everybody, and then if it's something we have to vote on, we could vote on it in January and see what the city. So could we marshal that through the planning department to have them give feedback on whatever quote he gives? On
Well, if
what else he would need to provide?
if we do it in the pit, then what we need is the permission from
Yeah, and we
Michael
need,
Braun.
yeah.
And other than that, if it's a temporary installation, I think we would simply ask the council to just approve doing it. But it's not a mural, it's not permanent, it doesn't have all the requirements. It
No
just-
engineering elements that
That's
we
what
worry
I'm-
So
about.
it's like a.
Because we've
it's
run
a
into that.
clothesline, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
So,
But yeah, we
I
should
mean,
have
it still
someone
has
look at
some-
it.
I mean, I think engineering would have to be involved at some
Yeah, I
level,
would think they'd
right?
have
With
to
the
look at
wind
it.
or it falling down or something, right?
good, yeah.
But again, if it's
probably.
in the.
Or
pit,
how
then
how
it's
No,
they're
it'd be
fixed,
above.
how the
Yeah.
clothesline is affixed to
Yeah.
the wall.
It would
Tensions,
be
yeah.
At the top,
Yeah,
at the fence level, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, if nobody can get in there. So the
Correct.
risk of
Is that closed? You can't go down to the house anymore? Or?
only, I think they've stopped doing tours until Modernism Week. They're going to do
Okay.
during that. And then my understanding is it's been sold and will leave
At some
sometime
point.
after that, at which point there'll be some extra space down there.
Right.
But I think that just like
well, we'll
the
get
mural
him to.
in the pit, it has many less issues as far as public interaction with it, just because you have to
It's limited
be,
access.
it's limited, it's locked, I mean, most of the time, so.
Yes, we'll just have him get his proposal, and then we'll shepherd
What's his
it
last
to you
name?
guys.
John Morse?
Morse, M-O-R-S-E.
So that one's working on, and then there was the artist named Wallace Covard who wanted to wrap around in front of City Hall, and I got in touch with him several months ago, and he said he was busy and that towards the end of the year, he would give us a budget, and we can decide if it's something that we want to do. So I'll see if I can get that, something we could look at in January, and you see if we can do John. In the case of John Morse and Jeff Pick, we voted to do their projects at a number that they had proposed. But that's as far as we got on each of them.
Yeah, and then he also was busy on a project all this time, so
Right.
he has a public arts thing he's doing in LA.
And then the other projects, there's 2 or 3, but they're much,
Well, there's actually, two of the other artists from the 30 by 30 show. Richard Becker did Buoyant, which is the stainless steel baby and the floaty. I would like to give some consideration to moving forward with doing an installation with him, one of his tots, the little children that are about 36 to 48 inches high. Forgot to bring the budget with, but I believe it comes in around an $18,000 budget, so it's a very sort of manageable number for us. So the key thing for that is finding a location for it first, and then proceeding. And Richard, I've been in contact with Richard Becker, so he knows it's sort of an ongoing process, find the site and then develop the project.
how about the leisure center?
There's
Wouldn't
already
that
a
be
lot
a lot.
of sculptures there.
They have the bike things too, the big bike.
Yeah, my first ideal spot for it would be in front of the entrance to the airport, but there's so much stuff there that it would get lost, so we need to find a good location for it. And then the other artist is Bijan, who did the We Are One proposal, and I've also been in touch with him. He understands that it's a very large project because it comes in above 75,000, so it's something we're considering it, but again, it's just not going to move forward quickly. But I would like us to, and I'll start looking for location choices for the Richard Becker piece, because I think it's brilliant. Again, it'll be the stainless steel young boy with a powder-coated swim trunks and swim goggles.
That's
So-
very
What
cute.
what if we got some neighborhood that wanted to sponsor the We Are One?
That would be, I think we do
Or
need
sponsor
to,
part of it, or,
what we need to do is, I think doing these 30 by 30 projects has been good, and we've tried some new things, but going forward, I think we need to find a site that wants something first, instead of shopping these things around, because it's been, I hope that the people on Arenas will do some things there, but it's like chicken and egg.
Can I ask, I know we've approved moving forward with some of these 30 by 30 projects, but we're not, do we have,
No.
are we bound
We're
to
not
do it?
obligated.
Because I do think that it's, again, working with limited resources, struggling with sites, and also really seeing that, actually working on the Gerald Clark project and reaching out to the different neighborhood groups is really good, because now we have these contacts.
Right.
That we have these, I know past commissioners have individually had good relationships with certain neighborhood groups, but, we're kind of starting fresh. And it's actually a nice opportunity for us to, think about, think about the kinds of projects neighborhoods want to see in conversation with these new ideas. And, personally, I think it's just more beneficial and productive, and will make better projects.
And I think that we should try to design almost like a brochure, which would also be on the website and other places, but with some of the kinds of projects that groups neighborhoods might want to do. It might be benches,
Opportunities,
mini
yeah.
murals we've talked about, and give them some ideas of kinds of things, and sort of collaborative works. I forget who mentioned the one where with the willow branches or whatever it was, where they just left this pile of branches and people came and added them to a sculpture. It was very interactive. But if we throw out some of these ideas and we find someone who wants to work with us, then I think it makes more sense. I think for the 30th year and throwing out all those ideas was great, but we may not be able to do each of them, because at the time we picked them, we didn't ask them for a budget. We just said, we really like your idea. And unfortunately, some of the artists thought that that meant we promised to do it. Okay, anybody
You
else
could
got
see
some-
that we are one on that median on Indian Canyon. You know, where there's already lighting. I just, when I think of that sculpture, I think of it there.
It's very, it's a very good
Oh, yeah,
concept. It was just-
conceptually, it's a
yeah.
brilliant piece.
But I
Yeah,
think,
down at the beginning of town.
does anyone else have projects they want to put in the?
We're going around, Madam Chair.
Yes. Who would like to be next?
No, but I just wanted to add one other thing that I'm sort of keen on us pursuing the possibility of doing. And because this past year we worked a lot with Michael Braun, Grit Development, the Pitt and the Virgin Hotel site. He's always been keen on having a mural on the north wall of the West Elm Building. And he's also been very keen on the south-facing wall of the Hyatt, because it's a very large, overlooking the parking garage and the new upcoming downtown park. So I've come across an artist who goes by the Bumblebee Loves You, which I showed Commissioner Murray last week. Can we pull his website up on the screen? There's a couple of things. If we are interested in trying to pursue a collaboration with Michael Braun at the Hyatt people and the Arts Commission to do a mural on the side of the Hyatt, which is a possibility, this particular artist, it would come in at about a $50,000 level. But we could also consider perhaps the sidewall of the parking structure, because it's his childlike figures would be very suitable for next to the new downtown park. So it'd be a very appropriate combination. But it's a sort of a higher budget thing, so I think it would only be successful for us if it was a collaboration with Grit, the Hyatt, and with the Palm Springs Arts Commission.
He may have some more art fees that he's paid also. I don't know if he's done
So
a lot of-
does he own the Hyatt building?
Well, no, it's the thing is like, again, it's a separate entity, so we would have to work with their management team, but it's something I would pursue through connections with Michael Braun and Grit, because he knows who the management is and has relationships with them. But if it's something that we wanted to pursue, I would at least explore that as a possibility. The Hyatt in a meeting may say, no, we're just simply not interested.
Could we have them pay for it?
So ideally, yes, but I don't know if they would foot the whole thing. But
Well,
yeah,
because we paid for that mural in the pit already,
Yeah.
so
Um,
he owes us.
We do have to get back in the loop with the downtown
Those are
park,
really cool,
though,
though.
and see
Right.
what, do you have any idea what the schedule is for the park? Are they,
It's a moving target.
it's a moving target? But we might, after the first of the year, put together a meeting again with the park designers and just see where they are thinking about art. Because it's been like 2 years since we talked to them.
Well, one thing, I went to that meeting for the Rotary Club because they
Oh,
wanted
right.
to have their chalk art festival. And one thing to consider on this, and I know with the parking garage it would be an issue, but not the Hyatt, I'm sure, is there's nothing going to be happening for a year, a calendar year, on Museum Way.
is the parking garage owned by the city?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Which really needs a cool mural on it versus the just green stripes.
Well, yeah, because something
JR,
in this
is that
direction
what's
beside the park would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. What happened with is the chalk art going to go in the museum?
So I thought that was a great idea. So I was like, well, if you can have it on Museum Way, why don't you, instead of having it in a parking lot, why not ask the museum if you could use their parking lot? But they're really particular about the finish of the material that they're going to chalk art on, so they rejected the museum parking lot. So I didn't want to approach the museum until they looked at it. And then they rejected the parking lot also. So they're going to cancel and wait a year till next year.
Okay.
But we won't be able to have any events or anything on Museum Way, right? From January through next January. Definite,
Because of the parking?
yeah.
Right.
They're not going to let anyone do anything there, yeah.
Did they consider like another street like Arenas, which is sort of interested in hosting things?
Yeah, they were concerned with, that wasn't big enough. They were very, like, particular on the space they wanted, like, they wanted a lot of space, and then
They
the.
used to do it at the stadium or the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was big. But last year, they barely took up a block when they,
Oh, really? They want it downtown because they want it downtown. I guess the artists last year didn't feel like they got very much coverage. And I guess they bring artists in from all over the place, so if they don't have a festival that draws people, then artists are not gonna come to it to do their work. And then, I guess it is a big moneymaker for them, so.
okay. So, but at least we did offer to help, so that's good.
Yeah, and it's already, like, that's off the table till next year.
Okay. Does that mean no street fair?
Yeah, nothing.
So do you have in mind another kind of
Well, I
event
thought
or-
we could double up on my report from Mara at the Parks Commission and kind of throw that out there to them.
having
so.
some events in parks that would sort of,
Yeah, like do the street fair in a park. Well, Ruth Hardy Park was so nicely manicured when we were there on Tuesday. It was just in such better shape. So it just made you want to go back to parks also because.
You know, I wonder, maybe we should spend a little time looking at the upcoming spring community calendars, because, and talk to our neighbors and, you know, people in community groups, because I know there are a lot of like barbecues and festivals and like park, and maybe we should again just find a way to just have a presence
At some of-
these events that are already being organized, that have people coming, and you know, I love street fairs, but I love the idea of us really thinking about having more like mobile celebrations and of the projects that we're doing over time. I just think, you know, art it's not the static thing that's just always a monument that is in one place, and I think our programs can reflect that.
which would,
And, you know, even just, we can start with, like, say, maybe doing something on a second Sunday when we know the museum is open, you know, maybe, and then maybe there can be an extension where there's, like, concurrent activities happening. Certainly in the springtime, there's always kind of something happening in March and April, on Sundays in some of the parks, or on the weekends in the parks,
well,
so.
in addition to going to the Parks Commission meeting, there's the next sort of general meeting of 1PS is January 9th. And so I think in both cases, it would be nice if we could make up the kinds of projects that we could offer to, and as Mara says, feed into their programs. And a lot of the activities that Sarah did for the street fair would work wonderfully at another street fair. I mean,
Yeah.
another park
Somebody else.
event,
Or
right?
some other
I mean,
kind of-
making something is, you know, I mean, and something more interesting than, you know, the sort of, something that has an art aspect to it instead of just sort of a craft project. So I think what we should do is try to make, we said earlier that we hoped this year would be the year of working with the parks and the neighborhoods. So what are the kinds of projects that we know how to do if they're interested? One is street fair kinds of things, right? One is benches. Murals, mini murals we were talking about trying.
Mara mentioned mobile art, if I'm saying that correct.
Which kind?
Mobile art.
Mobile
Some kind of mobile.
They're like, what do they call those, like movable feasts, you know, where you go to a dinner party, but you're actually going to like 5 different places for your cocktail and your appetizer, and but just having a kind of a concurrent events happening at.
I think interactive, some kind of art where it's created by people bringing or contributing some part of it.
Or taking.
Or taking, like trash.
I feel like Gonzalez Torres, you did the pieces and you took the print with you.
That
It was gone.
Talking the right place.
Perhaps we could like shred things too.
Right. Take a shred.
What else? Because we can try to put this together into, what are other projects that we've done that people,
Well, is this part of the going around, or are we just, I'm not
Throwing
sure where we're
ideas
at.
out.
So these are sort of program ideas
Yes.
as opposed to installation ideas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I think we should probably add something for spoken art.
in conjunction with,
Well, if we're doing an event in the park, then spoken word.
part of what we need to do concurrently, and I'll sort of try to do this part, is there's kind of a gray area of what we can spend this public art money on other than actual works of art. We can do things that publicize them and that encourage interaction with them and stuff. We're not like an arts commission that can give a grant for a theater piece or something. So we need to.
But if it's connected to an art project.
Right, and
so
that it is making it so.
activating a
activating,
sculpture
right,
or an installation.
right. And we are allowed to do.
So it could be spoken word about a piece of art.
Right, and we've done at the museum, they've done some projects that were related, that were on Thursday nights as part of our sort of blanket funding, and that were spoken word and that were, some interesting
Is
kinds
the
of
word
stuff.
public art defined in our, as a visual art?
We have in our mission statement a definition that allows for sort of slightly broader
Right.
interpretation, but can I recommend, just because of, I think this is becoming like a really great brainstorming meeting, but I wonder if we shouldn't like subcommittee this to really try to tease out some potential partnerships and dates. And then once we have a couple partnerships and a couple dates, maybe we can work through what specific programs. Okay.
I agree. Did you want to?
I had a request I wanted to add.
Yes,
So
we're
just,
just kind of going around.
again, just sort of in the spirit of like goals and things like that, and so we've talked so much about the Tockwitz Canyon art pads that are waiting for art, and having discussed them so much and having seen them and walked to them and seen the size of them, that to me, it was like crying out for a real RFP and like a call for artists, and that it should be done as one thing, like a unified thing. So that's like my request, is in the sense of like that I think that's not that we need to do it today, but
Right.
that's like should be a goal, that because they're there and everybody
Sees
sort of
them.
wants to see something happen, but I think we really should do it the right way with like
And
a
they
lot
are
of community
the path
input and
In from the airport, which is.
yeah.
It should
Though
be
driving
designed
over
for
here
that space.
today, there
Yeah.
was, all the median was torn up in front of the Regal Theater. Did you come down that way on Tockwitz? They're doing something to the median.
Well, that's out of our thing anyway. I mean, that's out of the pads that we have already. Our Pads End is before sunrise, I think.
No, there's one in front of the theater.
Well, there's
That's
one of
Indian
the
Landmark.
One of
sculptures
the
is there, but
sculptures
where
is there.
the,
The pads go from here, I think,
To
up
Farrell?
to, no, past Sunset Way a little bit. In between Sunset and Sunrise.
And then there's the,
And the Native
Kui, I
American.
think.
The rest is tribal land.
Yeah,
okay, but let's.
How many
put-
pads are there?
5.
Oh,
Hmm.
5.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it'd be, it's a big scale project that should, demands, like an RFP and a call,
Well,
like
I
a
think
formal call and, a real process, but I mean, it's a huge opportunity that I don't think we should,
And I think we
we
should.
shouldn't squander it, like,
It would be great
random
to
pieces like
have
you
that
said.
done
Yeah,
within the next.
And I think we need
No,
to.
seriously, within the next
one of
2
our
years.
lifetimes.
Because you can put the size, it's size determinative
Yeah.
there.
Right.
So you could tell them it can only be this size.
Right. And we need to,
Well, because then it
Well,
will
you
go
can
into
show,
traffic.
you can
It
tell
will go
them to
into
look at the
traffic.
space,
right.
right?
And we also, we need an RFP process, and we need to start with a budget, as opposed to just asking people what they, what they'd like us
Right.
to pay them. So you just,
That's what I would like to do, yeah.
why
want
don't
that
you
to happen.
chair that?
That's a great
So
idea.
it's
These
a
are
great
not
idea.
subcommittees, these are just like ad
That's a
hoc
great idea,
committees.
and I think it's a good model, because it's a defined space, so
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
good opportunity to test out whether we can generate an RFP and a website that can.
Right. And,
Mhm.
and how we can use our website to get it out
Like,
there.
I feel like we had a good experience with the call for artists for the 30 by 30, so like building on, I mean, I know this is a much bigger project, but it's like, I know we can get the word out and we can solicit things, and so then the others, we have to have the call for qualification, make sure that people are qualified to do the piece and stuff like that, and, but just do it, like.
So would you think of using the call for entry for that, or?
I would think,
do we
unless
know?
there's
We
another.
could, unless, even if
way.
we just, that's how you found out about it, and then there's a much more extensive description on the website, which is, I think, what we did before.
Mhm.
I mean, and that's something that's done by the Western States Arts Foundation, and, it costs us like $400 for the year or something to
Right.
use it. Doesn't mean that it suits a really complicated project. But it was
I
great
just
to have
think
so many people.
We do need to, and I would like to be part of this conversation about the RFP process. I think, when we were talking with some potential advisors about thinking about how you commission a project, I just really don't think we want to limit the projects to people who are licensed and
No,
have done
I
it before,
totally agree.
and that creates a self-selecting group of people and doesn't necessarily represent the diversity of artists that we want to engage with. So I just think we really have to think about this
Right.
RFP process and whether we have the capacity to really manage it, because it's possible that we can, throw open a sort of wider opportunity to artists working in this Southern California, or just even in Riverside to Coachella, and maybe people who have never worked on projects on a larger scale, but are really talented artists who are, who could make something really great, and needs a project manager to help realize that. And tons of artists work that way all the time, even really, so anyway, I just think it's a really interesting and good opportunity.
And I think that's
we
a
need to
good place to
think
do
about
it,
these
because
RFP process.
I think between the museum and the park, there's a lot going on over there. I think we've made an impact in downtown. If we start reaching out to parks and neighborhoods, but as the City Arts Commission, to have something that's really your introduction to Palm Springs would be great, and that, we could try to get
I mean,
a
maybe
piece
we
that
go
says
the
that.
route, I mean, I was reading something about that Warren Brand did a project in LA, and and the article was all about how they met with community members, and, like it sort of really came up from organically and things like that, and it was this very long process. So that's kind of what I imagine, so maybe we work with one of these project, the RFP is maybe handled by them or
Right.
something. But that's all the kind of stuff that we would want to work out. But I mean, my point was just like, I would like to see that project move
but I think
forward
that's
in a
good
good
one.
way. So
Okay.
that's my request.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Murray?
Yes. For the past few years, the Public Arts Commission has been very supportive during Black History Month, and also with the Martin Luther King celebration, community celebration. And the community is very thankful for that. For example, for 2 years we had an art exhibit at the St. Paul's Church, which was very successful and well attended. On Thursday nights, and Mara can say more about this if we have more time, we have programming scheduled during Black History Month. So to get to the point and to say thank you, I'm wondering if we can allocate some funds as we've done before for Black History Month. Perhaps anywhere from $500 to $2,000. We've got, for example, Russell and I have met, and there's a Miss Deborah McDuff, who's an artist, and we, after our conversation last night at the James O. Jesse Center, perhaps invite her to do some education piece or program. We can certainly have more conversations about that, but we'd like to pay her. Also, I've heard from the Palm Springs International Dance Festival, who's interested in participating during Black History Month with the Black History Month Committee, and perhaps doing something at the museum, some kind of program, if not the Galen, as on a Thursday night, perhaps. But so we need some funding, or it would be appreciated.
Is there a new education director at the museum? Is it Hillary? Or is that not clear?
We have a new chief curator and director of education public programs. And so she oversees both the exhibition and the public programs. And then, but Hillary is responsible for developing Hillary Roberts for our community partnerships and the museum's community partnerships and programming.
So this would be something to talk to her about, something during Black History Month.
We met last night.
Oh, you
Yes,
did? Okay.
we've already talked. We've met. I don't know if Russell, I always want to say Richard. Russell wants to say more. But I'm saying thank you. And perhaps if we could get some funding, if I'm saying that right, to pay the artist. Anywhere from $500 to $1 million, I don't know.
Okay.
Did you want to say something?
Well,
Russell?
it's just in this discussion for her January meeting, we should have as an action item approving a set budget once we have in an idea of what the ingredients will be for the celebration. Like, for example,
Yes.
the artist that Commissioner Murray and I met with, Deborah McDuff, is working on this spectacular art installation project and is prepared to talk. So if we
Well, we'd have to
identify.
get more with the museum with what they would have her do.
Right.
Yes.
But if we, as the Arts
If
Commission,
anything.
identify that we're going to have 6 ingredients with approximately a $1,500 stipend per, just come up with some sort of an idea of budget range, that could be an action item or discussion point, certainly.
I don't quite understand what the artists are going to do. They're going to create an installation, or they're going to do a program at the museum? Or is it the same thing?
Perhaps on our Free Thursdays, and Mara can speak to this, the programming. Can you say more about that?
Are there any set yet? I mean, are there any planned yet, or is it still in the
Well, we
planning
have
stages?
Tyson, yes.
So,
like Tyson.
so I'm trying to sort of locate. Generally, I would support the commission's support of a visual arts program with Black History Month to support, artists and educational engagement in the city of Palm Springs, just generally. So, because I know the Black History Month committee does projects and events at a number of different sites. So I think broadly speaking, as a member of the commission, I would do that. Okay. In terms of what the museums, the current conversation with the Black History Month committee is that the museum has identified February 6th, which is a free Thursday, as a very good day to do, to sort of launch Black History Month. And there is space available for like performance program, live program, music, educational conversations. There are probably some workshops planned for that week and the following week with Tyson Knight, who has been an artist that this commission has engaged with. So for that whole month, there will be a lot of activations. But in terms of like a particular, I know the museum is very keen to develop a program partnership with the Black History Month Committee of the city of Palm Springs, and February 6th is a very good date to realize.
And the commission has always,
project.
for the past 2 or 3 years, sponsored.
Right, and we can do that. What's actually happened is that there's so many changes at the museum, it's hard to sort of say how it's working now, but the education department identified 5 or 6 programs on Thursday nights that were co-sponsored with us, but were sort of part of our $50,000 contribution. I think it says in the contract 4 or 5 programs. And they haven't cost that much extra that the museum has said that they couldn't do it as part of their program anyway. So I think we should start with what the museum can do, and if there's something that everybody really wants to do and there's a shortfall, we can probably give some money to the museum. What we don't want to do is go try to pay individual artists to do this one thing, because I mean, they get a 10-page contract anyway. So.
Well, right, and it'll be done in like April.
Right, exactly.
But is there an opportunity, so for example, say there's an artist who's doing something at the museum and
Right.
the museum kind of just pays for that stipend, but then that artist wants to do a workshop at the James O. Jesse Center as additional sort of educational opportunity. Is that something that we as a commission could support as a sort of
we could, but we would
community arts
probably
engagement?
support the
James
museum
O. Jesse, or James O. Jesse.
to be able to do it, or James O. Jesse to be
Right.
able to
Not
perform.
directly to the artists.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Right.
So
and
maybe-
the more
so
times we
maybe-
can do that, the better.
I like the idea of maybe Tyson doing a thing. Or
That would be
something.
great.
I mean, I like the idea of having it connect back to the commission somehow, like so that
Mm-hmm.
we're promoting both, like the
And
commission
he,
and
judging
Black
from
History
the
Month
videos, is also very good at talking about his
His
work
work.
and his
Extremely,
inspiration.
and working with kids, because there's a arts program with the mentoring programs. Yeah.
So that,
so-
what would you think
Yes.
of that on February 6th?
Well, that's
Does that work?
Sorry, what?
A program at the museum
Like a
that includes
workshop.
Tyson.
So Tyson, that's already
That's already
happening.
scheduled.
This is
Oh,
we already have like
I see.
4 workshops with Tyson scheduled in January and February. At this point,
Oh, so we need the.
there's some
dates.
opportunities to bring in, say, music, performance, spoken word, there are other
Dance.
dance, there are other kinds of
Yes.
Artists who I think, pardon, I don't want to grab
No,
it, but
you're
I'm just
good.
trying
No,
to
please,
define.
please, please.
I think there's some other, Tyson's good right now. Are there other artistic conversations that this commission could support for Black History Month?
yes, and
try.
allocating funds for that.
Right, but we need the dates of Tyson's. I mean, Madeleine is left, but we should be publicizing this.
But
So
so
who is this artist that you've been talking to? Like, what would that artist do
Macduff.
versus music and because we just talked about the whole music and dance and things.
I mean, it's hard for us to do that. We can fund a program with a park or a neighborhood group that wants to do this. And the museum, we have funded things for them to do. We can't start hiring
Commissioning works or
dancers.
whatever.
You know, I mean, it's just, we're going to run right into people who, and
Is the Black History Month Committee a nonprofit?
Yes.
So can we simply provide support to the Black History Month Committee to
Well, that-
support visual arts projects?
I'm not
For
sure.
the month of February.
Well, 'cause
I don't know
didn't-
if
didn't
we
we
may
get
be able to
into?
do it as it's an official city committee.
Yes. Well,
So-
no. Oh, go ahead.
We have, for example, in the past, been able to pay the fees for someone that we want to help. And so
Like
instead
a
of their
mural,
paying
like
the
a
Like
city,
Rotary Club.
right.
Right.
So, or some of the mural fees. So we can say that the Black History Committee can make this expenditure and have it charged to our budget.
Is it a city? Is it a city
I don't
group?
think it's a city.
thought
No,
you-
no. We get city funding.
Aren't you, who appoints the?
It's
it wasn't.
it's a separate nonprofit. And you know, I can have someone come in and talk about that more intelligently. But it's no different than what we did with the art exhibit.
Right, but see,
You know.
it turns out that what we used to do with the art exhibit wasn't
kosher.
really.
Right. I understand. Oh,
Right.
And among things we can't do are like give awards. to
Prizes, right, that's
prizes
what I
and
was gonna
stuff.
bring up, is
Right,
that we've
right.
done this, yeah, and we had the same thing with the chalk thing, right? And then
Right.
there was the other,
And
something else
so-
with the exhibition, right? We're giving.
So we're finding ways to work with
yes.
groups.
Yes.
that-
Yes.
And at the same time, I really think that we need to try to come up with a number of tweaks to the ordinance that do make it possible to do these programs and show how they support the whole public art program.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, there's a list in the ordinance of things that we can't do, and it's pretty much
So,
what we're
I
talking
would
about.
recommend this, maybe,
It would be good to broaden the definition of public art.
Right.
but I mean,
And I
so
think
maybe
that's a good
something, so,
project.
so maybe the Arts Commission could sponsor something in conjunction with our mural at James O. Jesse, so we could, James O. Jesse could get the funding and run the program. And then.
During Black History Month.
During Black History Month.
Yes.
Like, that sounds like maybe a
Yes.
feasible
Right.
way. But
Yes.
it also, it's
Right.
an Arts Commission thing, so maybe there's some sort of performative thing in
Right, it
connection
can
with
be
the
any-
mural.
right.
Oh, I see.
Or, you know.
Right,
like,
and so what we do is
That's
we
a
say
great-
that James O. Jesse,
See, you
now
just
they
have
are
to
part
talk
of
it
the
out,
city, right?
Well, that's
They're
why I brought it up.
community
Yes,
center.
yes.
Yeah, so
So-
if James O. Jesse says to us, we would like to do something in conjunction with the mural for Black History Month, it's going to cost $1,500,
XYZ, right.
$2,000, and we can approve that, and we can say to the city, just take it out of our budget. That's a lot easier than us paying them and them paying, you know. So,
Okay.
um,
Thank you.
I
And I'll
think
have.
that's a way to do that.
Yes.
Always have some, either city agency or
Nonprofit
nonprofit that,
entity.
that makes sense to work with.
And I'll have someone from that committee here at our next meeting in January.
Okay.
Black
Well, I
History
think
Month
by
is in
then,
February.
if you can have the whole thing
Oh,
sort of
yes.
planned, and we'll,
Vote, maybe
We'll try
if
to
we have
approve it.
something specific to vote on, then we
Okay.
can vote on it.
right.
Thank you. And then the
I think
second.
we'd need to then.
Second and last thing is, we had talked about, Commissioner Yanni and I took a look on Tramview Road. We've had this discussion now for some time of putting a sculpture at the entrance there. Mr. Yanni, Commissioner Yanni brought up the piece you discussed, the baby and or the man, or whatever, you know, and my question was, well, I won't say that. You know, so we need to, I'm sorry,
The We Are One.
we are one. So, we need to, it's time to put some, in fact, that came up at the meeting last night. You know, when are you guys gonna put the,
One of the
you know,
things, Jay,
But
how
isn't
do we
it,
figure out?
Indian? Isn't that what you were talking about? On
Indian and Tramview?
We were talking about,
Yeah,
yeah, but
that
one of the
spot
things we want to find
Has
is
lighting.
that, yeah, there's
Right.
a spot up there where the old sign
Right.
was.
Yeah, We Are One would be great
Yeah.
there.
And we couldn't figure out if that's the city owns that land or not? Is that was one of the things that we wanted. Can
We're
we,
talking about on Indian?
Yeah.
on Indian, when you
Indian.
drive into Palm Springs on
Right.
Indian, there used to be a sign that said like, welcome to Palm
Right,
Springs or
right.
something. And I think it's on kind of like, it's like a median, and then there's like an access road or
Right.
something.
And then there's the church.
You know,
And we're trying to
had-
figure out if that's city property and if we could put a piece on there. So
I
how
know
do
the
we-
city owns some properties there, but then I have had conversations with the individual who owns property, and we've talked about the sign, and I think, oh, your sign's on my property, and, you know, it wasn't a issue. It's something I would have to confirm.
So what would be the best way? So should we try and identify a spot and then see whose land it, like what would be the best way to move it
Well, I
forward?
could provide you with what the city controls, right-of-way, city-owned properties. Then from there, you can perhaps select something that's, that works.
Right, right.
So that space is not available with that
It
Palm
might be.
Springs
Might be.
It might be,
sign?
that might be
Okay,
in there.
Because there's
We
lighting.
used to have a
and there's
list
band,
That's right.
of
It's all kind of.
And
all
we'd have to
the
talk to the
sites.
community.
city sites. It's probably on,
Yeah.
You're right.
somewhere on a computer.
Right, with
So
the
has
piece.
the
We used to have a
palm
list of all the
tree
art,
Right,
which I guess
right,
Dan was
right.
trying to bring up.
And it doesn't have to be a permanent.
And then there was also
It can be
a
a,
list of
you know,
all the,
we can,
But pouring a
Empty
pad
sites.
and running some lights isn't that hard to do.
I'm sorry?
Pouring a concrete pad and running some lights to put up, it is actually not that expensive to do. So I think finding a site up there that feels good is the first thing to do. And then we can,
Figure out, right.
you know, talk to the neighborhood, figure out some artwork. So.
So not necessarily.
but so, for example, that
Or
piece
maybe,
piece
I mean,
might
maybe
be on
again,
the
do
list.
one of these
You think
Oh,
so?
community
yeah.
input, you know.
Sure. Thank you.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have, Madam
All right,
Chair.
can we?
Can I ask one, since you guys are working with Desert,
We have
Which
multiple
we were just saying, we used to have a
The- the-
list.
the
remember,
conversation
of
is-
sites, but
Yeah, we
Jay
got
was
that.
saying it's, you know, some of
But
them
that
are
was,
like.
my sense of that list is that was a list that was put together for like potential site. I don't think it was all the city-owned property. Right.
No,
So
probably not,
that-
but you know, apparently it's everything from this much to something where you could build housing, so that yeah.
Madam Chair, real quick, the Black History Month Committee is getting ready to send out stuff. And should the commission be put on their stuff, I hate to use the word stuff, I'm just trying to speed up because I know we're time, on all of their, you know, we have sponsors.
As a partner.
Promotional
or something.
material
partners,
and
and
ephemera.
over the years, we've always been on their stuff.
Yeah,
You know, So is it safe to do that
I
again?
think
Should we?
it's safe, because I mean, we're still involved with the museum the Thursday night thing.
Yes.
Right, I mean,
Yes.
so
Okay. So it's
even
okay to
that,
put
we're
our
still.
logo-
But what, I think what you need to do is, first of all, starting in January, we're going to meet on the third Wednesday at 3 o'clock, because the city council took our spot. So we're taking theirs. And in order to, so that's, I think it's the 19th is the third. So if there's anything that you want to set up for February.
It's gotta be
It
there.
needs to be done by a subcommittee, a small group, and we could have a sense of, you know, if it's under a couple of $1,000s and it's to a city, like a neighborhood community center, I think we can just approve it without a lot of to
Thank
do.
you. Thank you,
A
ma'am.
small, especially if it's something where it can be charged to our budget and they don't have to write a check. So if you could, you know, just come up with something that we can approve, but because of the way that they write our budget anyway, they put a big chunk of money in maintenance, which means that we don't have to start from scratch. We can just say, oh, this gets charged to maintenance. So
For the
that
mural.
means for,
I'm just kidding.
right, for a mural, but for, you know, for a program. I mean, we have these categories. We have, I think, it's not a lot, maybe $5,000 for education programs. So we can just say, you know, again, if we can do it without writing a check, if it's just internal, you know.
Thank you, Madam
can
Chair.
I throw something out that Mara and I were talking about on Tuesday is that mural. It may be, and I,
And James O'Jesse, oh
Yeah.
dear. What
And
time is
maybe-
it?
I know.
no, just really quickly. Maybe we were talking about the mural and fixing it or replacing it or, seeing what the community wants. Maybe a conversation with the community at one of these, could be one of these things of like, what would you like to do with this mural? And what could you do, what?
We've had that conversation.
We have.
But like a
Yes.
public conversation.
We've had that.
We've had
public.
that.
Yes, we've
And
had
we've
that.
also had,
We've gone
unfortunately, the
there.
Like
conversation
down there in the
with
neighborhood.
the
Yeah.
artist, and that's been the sticking point.
And we've
Yeah.
also had that conversation with the new CEO of the museum, who gave us a great suggestion. Maybe, he talked about, there's a name for preserving it. I can't think of it right now.
To think about applying for grants to preserve it.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So we've had conversations.
The
Which,
problem
which
is,
my sense was people in the neighborhood they were up for applying for grants and things like that.
I'm sure they're
the
I can't
problem
speak,
was
for them.
that, and I don't know what the status of the artist is, but at the time,
We
he
should-
said that
we
he
should
gave us
check.
a
Yeah, we
quote,
should
and
see
also
check.
said that he would not approve of anyone else.
Yes, and so
Of
my understanding of, and it was very expensive. And,
Yeah.
$100,000,
but
over
yeah,
at
$100,000.
least, right.
So,
We should,
we should probably have like we should probably check in with the community about whether they're still interested in preserving that. We should probably follow up with the artist, see if he's still able to do restorations. Just check in, is he still going strong? And kind of go from there.
I sort of had the impression, if I'm remembering correctly, that he was not really.
In favor, right.
Well, not physically either up to doing it,
But
nor
he-
did he want anyone else to do it under he wanted his,
His people to, yeah.
Right.
but not, for example, kids.
I think it might be a process, and I think the community is obviously very attached to that mural. I was just up there myself last week, and I mean, it's such a fantastic mural, but it is in terrible shape. So maybe part of the process is that we need to let it go, but we also need to have a plan to do something else, So,
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like,
what
so
we
I
were
think what part
talking
of the resistance is people don't want to just feel like it's being
Gone,
taken
right,
away.
right.
So maybe it's like it's a process that we go through together.
Like all of our murals.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to
But I
say,
mean,
that's
but
a
we go through
whole,
that together, and part of it, I think, is bringing, helping the community understand the issues that the mural has, but also coming up with a way, to like detach with love
So
and
can I,
move
so
on
can
to
I,
something else.
so can I recommend that we actually try to schedule this conversation for later in the spring? Because it's such in the next couple months, we can gather up these histories, print out all of the recommendations from, I think, was it like 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes.
That we had, it's something like that. So we'll dig up all that stuff and then put it on our 2020 agenda, but to do maybe towards the end of spring.
well, and it might be if we
'Cause it's kind of
come
a
up
summer
with
project.
an RFP process, that's also something we could do for this mural.
Right.
And Jay will get something to us about city property and where we could,
Right.
thank you.
Okay. Would you like, since our meeting is now on the third Wednesday, would you like to have a study session sometime in January, somewhat earlier than the 19th, just so that we could sort of hit the ground running with some of these projects, might need a little more talking. I'm trying to think.
So it's actually the 15th. So
Is it? Yes,
Our meeting would
okay.
be on the 15th. So the week of the 6th, which is when everyone's kind of back from their New Year's adventures, I would be open to doing that maybe on the 8th or something like that.
I won't be here, so I just want to, no, because we're short a person, so I just want to, make sure that you have
When
the.
will you be back?
Later.
June.
Later.
But we can have a study session, you don't need a quorum.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't need a quorum for
No.
that? Oh, okay. So,
I can't do the 8th, but I would like to do this study session.
Well, we could do the 9th, because we're used to Thursdays at the moment, or we could do, what about the,
You can't do the 6th or the 8th, but I can make anything else work.
well, I mean, we could do the 7th or something, it just depends on,
7th,
no,
Who's
9th.
available on the
7th, 9th,
Who's available on this?
7th?
I'm not going
Tuesday?
to know because I have to change my work schedule because we're shift from Thursday to Wednesday,
Okay.
so.
Can we tentatively schedule something for the afternoon of the 7th study session?
And it can be flexible, and it can be off-site. We could go to the museum, for example, if we want, just so that we don't have to get, this room.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I
Then
think
it's
that would
more-
be good, because
then
we
it's
have,
more-
I mean, there's just lots of things, lots of balls in the air, and before we undertake any of these new projects, I think we should have more of a plan for how we're going to do it. Okay, so can we, all right, so what we should do is,
So are we adjourning to that
let's
now,
adjourn, well,
or-
let's adjourn to the 15th, and then let's agendize a study session for the 7th. Is 4 o'clock good for people, or 3 o'clock better?
Whatever you
Assuming you
guys
can-
want.
Well, if it's at the
I
museum.
mean, we can do it some evening, if that's better for people.
I like business hours.
Mhm.
Sorry. I just have to pick up the kids, so.
Yeah, whatever you
if-
guys want, whatever
So
time.
Like
3?
3 or 3:30 would be great.
Okay,
For
well,
me
let's say 3,
Mhm.
and if you can, and if you can't, we'll keep it, we'll keep it, it'll be like a running thing. And we can even call it a subcommittee of the whole. We have
Just
to post
temporary
it.
committee.
Right,
Temporary.
right, we have to,
All right, any report of director staff? So may I make a motion? I make a motion to adjourn this Public Arts Commission to our next regular meeting at 3 PM on Wednesday, January 15th, 2020, at Palm Springs City Hall, large conference room, 3200 East Tuckwis Way in Palm Springs.
Can you say something about, second?
Second.
Thank you.
Can you say something about the seeds and the chocolate, please, real
Can we,
quick?
can we vote?
Chocolate
Hanukkah
first?
begins on
Thank
the
you.
22nd.
Thank
This is a
you.
little Hanukkah gift for
Delicious.
And
Happy Hanukkah.
planting wildflowers.